Welcome back, everyone. My most popular video I ever made was about an origami cell phone. And even though my channel really isn't about origami, I thought with Halloween coming up, it might be a great opportunity for me to show you one other thing I made when I was a kid growing up in elementary school. These were my favorite origami craft, these ninja throwing stars. So today I'm going to show you how to make these little stars using both square small origami paper as well as larger normal 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper, depending upon what you have available. Let's get to it. All right, let's get started. The first thing you want to do is find some origami paper. If you don't have origami paper and you just want to use a regular 8.5 by 11, I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But for now, let's assume that you have a piece of origami paper that is rectangular. Assuming you do, go ahead and lay that on the table. The first fold we're going to make is going to cover up whatever is facing up. So if you have a light side and a dark side, like in this case it's a red and a white, go ahead and put the white facing up. We're going to fold it over in half. Now I'm doing this on a couple of white pieces of paper here so that you can see what's going on because my table is dark. We'll crease that right there. All right, now we're going to do that same process one more time. Fold it over. And crease it. Okay, you have a long rectangle at this point. Next step is to take this rectangle and fold it in half. And I will add that the end result of this can look more interesting depending upon how bad your folds are. So in this case, you can still see a little bit of the white beyond the red. That's not going to mess up the end result. So that's fine. However, if we wanted to, we could go back and make sure that that very first or second fold was perfect. But it's not necessary for these because of what the end result looks like. And I'll show you that in a bit. Now that we have this rectangle that was folded over in half, open it back up. The reason for folding it over was to get the center line right here. Now that we have that center line, go ahead and take one side and fold it up away from you so that it lines up with this center crease here. Okay, so here is my center crease point. Fold it up and away from me until I hit that point, and then crease. All right? Do the same thing on the other side, but opposite. So instead of folding away from me here, I will fold towards me. All right? Now when you do this, see how I have a little bit of a separation here. In origami, of course, depending upon how well you do it, a lot of the time you want the pieces to be exactly right next to each other in order to create perfection. Well, with these stars, you actually in the end are going to take this and fold it over. So you need a little extra there, a little extra gap there in order to allow for the fold. So we'll go ahead and leave that. The more we fold this, the thicker the paper is going to get and the more gap you're going to need for folding. Okay. Now that you have this shape, we're going to flip it over. Okay. Now you can see I have a piece coming out this way and a piece coming out this way. Take the piece farthest from you, grab the corner, and pull it back towards you. Okay. Now the opposite on the other side. Okay, from this shape that we have right here, we're going to take each of these sides and fold them in on one another. Fold in, fold in, so that we have a bit of a diamond shape. Okay, set this aside, and we're going to do it again with another piece of paper. What we have just made was 1/2. I'll go through the same process again, but a little bit faster so that you can see what I'm doing. Okay, and there is my second one. Now, you should have two identical pieces. I use different colors here. As you can tell from my channel logo, these are my favorite colors. But if you did this right, they will look identical. You don't do one the opposite of the other. I have made that mistake before where I made one way and then the other one, I reversed all of the steps so that it was effectively a copy that was kind of, I can't really show you an example of this, kind of like that. And they won't fit together. They have to be identical, okay? So now all you do is put one on top of the other, okay? One on top of the other like that, and spin it so that one of them is 180 degrees off of the other one, like that. Now you're getting the star shape, okay? Now what we'll do once we have it held in our hands like this is you will take one of the pieces, the top piece in my case, of the under origami piece that we made earlier. Pull it up, fold it over, and shove it into that side of the top piece, just like that. As you can see, we have half of this already put together. Now flip it around and do the exact same thing with the other side. Now you may have to twist this a little bit one way or the other in order to really get a good seal in here. Then just push it down and you will end up with your ninja throwing star. I have a couple of other colors here so you can see examples of what you can do. But next, we're going to move on to what happens if you use a larger piece of paper. Let me move these back off to the edge. Okay, I went ahead and did one, prior to this video. I'll show you how to do it again right here. Take the long side, fold it in half. This can also be done with construction paper so that you can get similar colors like what I was doing with the origami paper I had. But if all you have is plain white paper, that works just fine. And you could also color something on this paper so that when you fold it, you get an interesting pattern. As I was saying earlier, on this one, how some of the folds the white showed through, that actually gives it a little bit of character. Once you have your rectangle, fold it in half again. Exactly the same thing we were doing with the square origami paper. There will just be one interesting step later on that we have to do in addition. Fold it in half. And I will also add, this is the way I always did this in elementary school. We didn't have origami paper back then. We weren't fancy. We had a regular paper with the 3 holes in the side, and we would just make these little stars out of standard school-lined paper. The other benefit to doing it with construction paper or thick computer paper is the resulting star is bigger and has more heft to it, more weight. So if you're going to use these to throw at things like soda cans or little toys to knock them off of a ledge, the weight from the thicker paper might help you. Okay, this is where things get a little different. So we go ahead and fold this corner down just like we did originally. However, we have this extra piece. You got two choices here. If you have scissors, you can cut it off, but I never did. So instead, open it back up. You see your little fold line right here, this corner. We're gonna fold this piece of the paper in right on that line. So it goes like this. Now, effectively, we've shortened this side. Now we just fold it back as we did before. Okay? You have a little bit of extra something right in here because the paper's starting to get really thick. But now we didn't have to have scissors and we were able to make this out of an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. Do the same thing on the other side. Fold it over to see where your crease needs to go. Open it back up. Fold in right to where the crease is. And do it again. These folds are getting a little more messy because the thicker this paper gets, the less it wants to fold nicely. But it will still work for our end result. Whew. That definitely gets a lot harder to fold, but as you can see, even though my folds were a little bit messy, it still looks great. So now we'll take this. We will add to it the one that I made earlier. They are identical. One's not backwards of the other. Put them on top of one another. Turn them 180 degrees. Now take the top portion of the bottom one and slide it into the side, just like that. Now this next fold is going to be quite a bit harder. Pull this one out, okay. Now you're gonna have to fold it over a little bit right there, and this really doesn't wanna go because this paper is really thick. But once you have it in there, that is a hefty star. And that is how you make an origami throwing ninja star. This is a great craft for you to do around the Halloween time frame, which is where we are right now. These could be a little addition to your ninja costume or any kind of costume that this might fit with. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. I'll see you next time.